Hello kids, how are you? I hope you will be well and taking all the precautions for this pandemic situation. I am your English teacher Rakesh Uthara. I welcome you all on APS e-learning channel. Today I am here with one more lesson from class 7's literature book Honeycomb. The title of the lesson is The Ashes That Made the Trees Blue. This lesson is a Japanese folklore and is being written by William Elliot Griffiths. So let's begin this lesson with the introduction of the author. William Elliot Griffiths was born on September 17, 1843 and died on 5th February 1928. He was an American Orientalist, congregational minister, lecturer, and prolific author. Griffiths was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the son of a sea captain and later a coal trader. During the American Civil War, he served 2 months as a corporal in Company H of the 44th Pennsylvania Militia. After Robert E. Lee invaded Pennsylvania in 1863. After the war, he attended Rogers University at Newark, Brunswick, New Jersey, graduating in 1869. The theme of this lesson is basically it's a folklore, as I already told you, and the story which is being narrated in this story shows love, care, loyalty, and there is a shade of covetousness also there in this story that made the story very interesting and touching. There are some leading characters in the story. The first leading character is a dog named as Muko, and there is an old couple who was kind, generous, helpful, and on the other hand there was another a couple which was wicked, covetous, and always treated people ill-manneredly. So let's have an introduction of this lesson. The lesson is an adapted version of a Japanese story. It depicts that the bond between humans and animals can't be broken even after death. However, there are a few people whose selfish interests blot their relationship. The old man and his dog shared the warmth, integrity, association of lifetime rather beyond life. The spirit of the dog gave solace and support to his loving and caring master. The king rewarded the old gentleman with laurels and presents. This is a really very beautiful and emotional story. You will really enjoy this story. Let's have the summary of this story. This story has its setting in 19th century in Japan. There lived an old couple. They had a pet dog. They loved it as if it were their baby. It was provided with a cushion and was fed lovingly by the couple. The old man was a rice farmer and was followed by his pet to the fields. Old man's kindness could be observed as he offered food to birds as well. One day, the dog has taken the man to a spot and began scratching the earth there. The man digs the earth and found a pile of gold. They became rich and bought a piece of land. They gave a feast to their friends and did charity to their poor friends. Charity means to help someone financially if you have a friend who is economically, financially, monetarily backward, okay, so you can give him a monetarily ad. They cajoled their dog in a thankful manner. In contrast to the benevolent couple, benevolent means helpful, generous, they lived they lived an insensitive couple. They tried to dissuade the dog by offerings and other dainties, but failed to succeed in their motive. So it means in their neighborhood, there lived an old couple, that is also an old couple, and they were insensitive. Insensitive means they were not that much emotional, they were not that much generous like their neighbors. So, as the dog found a treasure to their master and his wife, so they also tried to persuade means try, dissuade and persuade, they tried to tempt the dog, try to give some greed and by giving him something to eat and all. But the dog did not go. The dog was not tempted by those offerings and those dainties given by the that couple. They used force to take the dog to a place where they could find some place to dig gold. The dog befooled them and began scratching at a place where a dead kitten was buried. They thought that as the dog searched, discovered gold for their master, similarly, this dog will also help us to find some gold, some hidden treasure, some hidden gold. So they try to first tempt the dog by giving him some offerings, something to eat and all. But when the dog did not move, so they forcefully took the dog somewhere and made him forced him to search something for them. So the dog was fed up and he started digging, lively digging he started. And when that old couple also dug at that place, they found a dead kitten over there. Angrily, the old man killed the dog, and his wife nearly chopped off his head with a sharp hoe. Then they buried his carcass into the soil and made a heap of earth on it. So the covetous couple, the cruel couple, got very much angry about that discovery. And the old person, the old man, he beat the dog to the death. And the old woman almost chopped his head with the blow of a hoe. And after the death of the dog, they buried the dead body in the hole which they dig for the search of the treasure, and they covered it with the soil over there. The old people regretted the severance with the dog and mourned its death. So when that generous couple came to know about the death of the dog, they were very much shocked, they were very much regretted over the cruelty. Severance means the severe impact, the way, the cruelty, the what I can say, the brutality which was done with the dog, and they cried over his death. He set up bamboo tubes to demarcate its grave. Demarcate means to give a marking. He put 3 or 4 bamboos around the place where the dog was buried. So to demarcate, to line, to make a boundary of the grave of the dog. And he laid a cup of water and food as they used to do to feed him. One day, when the old man was sleeping, the spirit of the dog, spirit means soul, of the dog appeared in his dreams and asked him to cut the pine tree near his grave. It wanted him to make a mortar of his rice pastry and a mill for bean sauce. So there was a pine tree near the grave of that dog. So the soul in his dream told the old man to cut that pine tree and make a mortar and a mill. Mortar is a kitchen instrument in which there is a bowl shape of a bowl shaped instrument, and there is a hammer by which we crush hard materials. When we crush the spices, okay, so that is mortar. And there is a mill. Mill is used to grind something, okay. So the soul of the dog told the old man to cut that pine tree and make a mortar and a mill. The old man followed the wish of the dog. When New Year's time was around, he decided to make rice pastry. When the rice was boiled and it was poured into the mortar, the old man lifted the hammer to pound into the dough. To his surprise, it changed into a heap of gold coins. The same thing happened with the old woman when she poured beans to the hand mill. Gold started dripping like rain. So what happened? It was New Year's evening, and they thought to make some rice pastry and thought to grind some beans. So first the old man boiled the rice, and then he put those boiled rice in the mortar so that he can crush it and make it a dough. So as he poured those boiled rice in that mortar and lifted its hammer to crush it or pound it, okay, so to his surprise, that all those boiled rice turned into gold coins. He was very much surprised over that. And the same kind of thing happened with the old woman. She took some beans and she poured those beans in the mill, and as she was grinding those beans, so instead of coming out of the flour of the beans, what came? The fine gold, and it started raining out of that tree. Then the jealous neighbors were watching everything, so they came to borrow the mortar and the magic mill. So they were, the old couple was peeping through the window. They thought if that thing had happened with them, so we will also borrow the mortar and mill. But their pastry turned out to be a foul mass of worms. They were furious and cut the mill into pieces and used it for firewood. So they borrowed the mill and mortar. As they tried to do the same thing, what was the result? Instead of having gold coins and a rain of gold, they found foul mass of worms. It means that all those rice and beans turned into worms, insects, and there was a foul smell, a bad smell started coming from that mass. They were very much furious. They got angry. Furious is angry. They got angry and they broke the mill into pieces. They broke it into small pieces, and then they tried to burn it. The generous old man dreamed again. The spirit of the dog informed him about how the mill had been burnt. He then asked him to take the ashes of it on the trees withering to make them bloom again. So that night, when the mill was chopped into pieces, the spirit of the dog again appeared in the dreams of the old man, and the spirit suggested to bring those ashes of those burned pieces of mill, and suggested to sprinkle one pinch of a small amount of that ashes on a withered dried up tree, withered tree, and that will make the tree bloom again. The old man went to the neighbor's house and found him sitting before the fireplace burning legs of the mill. He was resentfully allowed to take away a bucket full of ashes. So next day the old man went to the neighbor's house. There he found that the covetous, that wicked couple was using those broken pieces of mill in the fireplace. So he asked them to take the ashes of the mill. So they scornfully, they scolded him. Okay, they used abusive language for him and allowed him to take a bucket full of ashes. He went up to his withered cherry tree, and sprinkled ashes. The fragrance of the freshly enlivened blossoms reached the village. So as he just to check whether that thing was happening or not, so he went in his courtyard. There was a dried up, a withered cherry tree. So he used just one sprinkle. He used one pinch of that ashes and sprinkled it over the tree, and the tree was blossomed. It was having a full of flowers, and the fragrance was uh, floating in the air. The old man climbed up an old withered cherry tree when he learned that Daimyo was arriving. The villagers set out to bow down before the king until the processing passed away. So the old man came to know that the daimyo, and daimyo was the old landlords of Japan. Okay, so when he came to know that a daimyo was passing through their by their village, so he thought to show the magic. So he climbed up in a withered cherry tree, and he was waiting for the daimyo to reach there. So at the time, people used to bow down before the procession. That was the tradition. Bow down means they used to stand on their knees and bow down, lean forward, and show their respect, honor for the landlord or for those daimyos. So what happens after that? So what he does, as the daimyo's procession came near, he sprinkled one pinch of ashes on the withered cherry tree, and the tree was full of blossoms all sudden. And when the daimyo saw that, he was very much impressed by him. Okay, he called him at his palace. He gave him valuable clothes, lot of money he gave him, and he was very much happy by that procession or his presentation and his magic. So the old weak couple also thought of the same thing. So after some days, again that daimyo passed through that near their village. So that old man, he climbed up in the tree, and he was waiting for the daimyo to come near. And as the daimyo came near, he took he took a handful of ashes from his basket, and he threw it on the withered cherry tree. And at that same precise moment, immediately there was a strong blow of wind, and that ashes fall on the daimyo and his wife and choked his nose and throat, and he was very much angry. The daimyo was very much angry. He ordered his men to beat him. Okay, so the daimyo's men beat the old man to the death, and he threw him by the roadside. So this was the result of the wrongdoing of that old and wicked couple. So what is the moral of this story? People are known by their deeds, just as a tree is known by its leaves and fruit. It's a very good moral. People are known by their deeds, the work, the actions which people do, they are known by them. And here an example of tree is given. A tree is known by the leaves and fruit. That if a tree gives sweet fruit, so the tree will be known, will be used, utilized, and will be planted more. People and animals will all be kind to us if we are kind to them. That is about animals. We should be kind towards animals. And if we are kind to the animals, the same thing will go with us. They will also be kind to us. But being mean and wicked usually makes us less happy. But if we are mean, if we are wicked, if we try to deceive and cheat people, so that will result us to as unhappy. We will be sad. These are the new terminology for you. These are some new words that you will find helpful. And with this, I come to the end of the lesson. I hope you will enjoy this lesson. Read this story, and if you have any doubt, any query, kindly do reach me. Thank you. Thank you for watching.